Admiral Zextal stood on the bridge of his massive warship. The ship was called Dominion's Edge, and it was the biggest ship in the Kethfer Empire's fleet. Through the large windows, he could see stars scattered across the dark space like tiny diamonds. The admiral was tall and covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes glowed as he looked at the reports on his screen. The Kethfer had been the rulers of this part of the galaxy for over 300 years. They had conquered 47 different worlds and made slaves of countless species. "Admiral," called Commander Veltar from across the bridge, "we have found another species to add to our empire." Zextal turned his head toward the commander. "Tell me about them." Veltar touched his control panel, and a hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a small blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. "The planet is called Earth," Veltar explained. "It is in the Sol system, about 26 light years from here. The species calls themselves humans." General Mordock, a large Kethfer with battle scars across his face, laughed loudly. "Humans? What a strange name. How many ships do they have?" "Our scouts report they have just learned to travel faster than light," Veltar said. "They have maybe 20 or 30 ships. Very primitive technology." Zextal nodded. "This would be easy. Most species surrendered as soon as they saw the Kethfer fleet. Those who tried to fight usually lasted less than a day." "How many of them are there?" asked the admiral. "About 8 billion on their home planet," Veltar replied. "They have small colonies on a few nearby worlds and moons." "Perfect," said General Mordock. "We can use them as workers in our mines. 8 billion new slaves will be very useful." But Commander Veltar looked worried. "Admiral, there is something else. Command told us to check with the Codex before we attack." Zextal frowned. The Codex was an ancient artificial intelligence that had been watching the galaxy for thousands of years. It knew about every species and every war that had ever happened. The Kethfer sometimes asked it for advice, but they rarely needed to. "Very well," said the admiral. "Bring up the Codex." The lights on the bridge dimmed. A bright blue glow filled the center of the room, and slowly a figure made of light appeared. It looked like a tall, thin being with no clear face, just shifting patterns of blue energy. "Greetings, Kethvar," the Codex said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "What information do you seek?" "We plan to conquer a species called humans on a planet called Earth," Zextal said. "We want to know if there is anything special about them." The Codex was quiet for a long moment. The blue light flickered and changed colors, from blue to yellow to red and back to blue. "Species designation, human," the Codex finally said. "Planet, Earth, Sol system. I have been watching them for 50,000 years. "And?" General Mordock asked impatiently. "Classification, Apex Predator Evolution," the Codex continued. "Recommendation, absolute non-engagement. Historical analysis. Indicates 99.7% probability of Kethfer military failure." The bridge fell silent. No one moved. Then General Mordock started laughing again, even louder than before. "Did you hear that?" he said to the others. "This old computer thinks these primitive humans could beat us." Commander Veltar laughed too. "They just learned to travel between stars. We have been doing it for centuries." But Admiral Zextal was not laughing. He stared at the glowing figure of the Codex. "Explain your reasoning," he ordered. "Advisory, quarantine sector." "Do not provoke," the Codex said instead. "Human species exhibits unique evolutionary characteristics. They are the only known apex predator species to achieve sapience." "What does that mean?" asked Veltar. "Most intelligent species evolved from prey animals," the Codex explained. "They learn to think in order to hide and survive. Humans evolved from hunters. They learned to think in order to kill more effectively. General Mordak waved his hand dismissively. So they are good hunters. We have weapons that can destroy entire planets. What can they do against us? Warning. Human species demonstrates unprecedented adaptation under pressure, the Codex said. Historical data shows they become more dangerous when threatened. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. They adapt and overcome. Nonsense, said Admiral Zexthal. We have defeated dozens of species. Many of them were warriors, too. Negative, the Codex replied. No species in recorded galactic history shares human evolutionary pattern. Recommendation stands. Do not engage. The Admiral had heard enough. The Codex was clearly malfunctioning. How could a species that had just learned to travel between stars pose any threat to the mighty Kefir Empire? Your data is corrupted, Zexthal declared. These humans are primitives. We will conquer them easily. Warning acknowledged but not accepted, the Codex said. Updating Galactic Database. Alert sent to all member civilizations. Kefir fleet approaching. Earth. Recommend immediate evacuation of nearby systems. You dare send warnings about us? General Mordock roared, but the Codex was already fading away. Historical pattern analysis suggests imminent paradigm shift in galactic power structure. The Kefir have been warned. The galaxy has been warned. The bridge lights return to normal. Admiral Zexthal looked around at his officers. They all seemed as confused as he was. Sir, Commander Veltar said quietly, maybe we should listen. To the Codex, it has never been wrong before. It is wrong this time, Zexthal said firmly. Prepare the fleet. We leave for Earth in 6 hours. How many ships should we take? Asked General Mordak. The Admiral thought for a moment. The humans had maybe 30 ships. He would bring enough to make sure there was no chance of failure. All of them, he said. 200 ships. We will show these humans what happens when someone challenges the Kefir Empire. As the crew rushed to prepare for departure, Admiral Zexthal stared out at the stars. Deep in his mind, a small voice wondered if they were making a mistake. But he pushed the thought away. The Kefir had never lost a war. They were not going to start now. 6 hours later, the largest fleet in Kefir history jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading for a small blue planet in the Sol system. Behind them, the Codex sent one final message across the galaxy. They did not listen. May the cosmos preserve us all. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He was sitting in the command center of Luna Station, Earth's early warning outpost on the moon. The coffee cup fell from his hands and shattered on the floor as red lights flashed all around him. Captain, Lieutenant Amy Barnes shouted from her station. We have massive contacts coming out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Jake ran to her console and looked at the screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. 200 huge ships had just appeared near Pluto. Each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. How big are they? Jake asked. The smallest ones are 3 times the size of our biggest cruiser, Amy replied. The largest one is, Captain, it's the size of a small city. Jake grabbed the communications panel. Luna Station to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. We have incoming alien fleet. Repeat, we have aliens in the system. The response came immediately. Luna Station. This is Admiral Karin Phillips. How many ships? 200, Admiral. They're big, really big. There was silence. For a moment, then Admiral Phillips spoke again. All stations. This is not a drill. Battle stations. All ships to defensive positions. Jake looked around his small command center. Luna Station was not a military base. It was just a research station with some early warning equipment. They had no weapons except for a few small defense guns. Amy, send a message to all the mining stations, Jake ordered. Tell them to evacuate immediately. Already doing it, sir, Amy replied. Her fingers flew over her keyboard as she sent warnings. To every human outpost in the system. On Earth, Admiral Phillips stood in the war room of the United Defense Force headquarters. The large screen showed the solar system, with red dots marking the alien ships. Blue dots showed the human fleet rushing to defend their home. Status report, Phillips ordered. We have 12 destroyers, 8 cruisers, and 2 dreadnoughts moving. To intercept, reported Captain Lisa Grant from her position at the tactical station. The alien fleet is moving slowly toward Earth. Phillips studied the numbers. 22 human ships against 200 alien vessels. The odds were terrible, but they had to try. Send a message to the alien fleet, she ordered. The communication went out on all frequencies. Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Karen Phillips of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of Sol System sovereignty. State your intentions. Reply came an hour later. Admiral Zextho appeared on the main screen, his reptilian face twisted in what might have been a smile. Primitive humans, he said in perfect English. I am Admiral Zixthil of the Kethfer Empire. Your species is now property of the Empire. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be quick. Admiral Phillips stared at the alien face on her screen. She had been a soldier for 30 years. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth. She knew what surrender meant. Unknown alien commander, she replied. You are in violation of Sol System sovereignty. Withdraw immediately or face defensive action. Zexthil laughed, a harsh sound that filled the war room. You would fight us? You have 20 ships. We have 200. Then you should leave while you still can, Phillips said. The alien admiral's laugh stopped. Very well. We will destroy your moon colonies first. Consider it a lesson. The transmission ended. Phillips turned to her staff. All ships, engage the enemy. Protect the civilian stations at all costs. In space, the battle began. The Kethfer fleet moved toward Luna Station like a wall of metal and death. The human ships rushed to meet them, their smaller engines leaving bright trails in the darkness. Captain Jake Morrison watched from Luna Station as the 2 fleets met. The alien ships fired first. Beams of red energy lanced across space, striking the human destroyer Valiant. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Jake, we need to evacuate, Amy said. They're coming for us. Not yet, Jake replied. Keep sending. The evacuation signals. We need to give everyone time to escape. The human fleet fought with desperate courage. Commander Ryan Hayes led his cruiser Aurora in an attack run against a Kethfer battleship. The human ship was small and fast, dodging the alien weapons as it fired everything it had. But the aliens had too many ships. For every shot the humans landed, the aliens fired 10 back. The human cruiser Boston was cut in half by alien fire. The destroyer Franklin rammed an alien ship, destroying both vessels in a massive explosion. On Luna Station, Jake and Amy worked frantically to coordinate the evacuation. Civilian ships were fleeing from the mining stations and research outposts. Throughout the system, Captain, we've got 3 alien ships heading straight for us, Amy reported. Jake looked at the display. The alien ships were massive, bristling with weapons. Luna Station's small defense guns would not even scratch their armor. All non-essential personnel to the escape pods, Jake ordered. Amy, you too. I'm not leaving you here, she replied. That's an order, Lieutenant. Amy stood up and faced him. With respect, sir, you can go to hell. Jake almost smiled despite their situation. That was the human spirit right there. Even facing certain death, they stood together. The alien ships reached Luna Station and began their attack. The station shook as energy beams struck its hull. Systems failed throughout the base. The lights went out, then came back on emergency power. Hull breach in Section 7, Amy reported. We're losing air. Jake activated the station's defense guns. They were small weapons meant to destroy asteroids, but they were all they had. The guns fired continuously at the alien ships, their projectiles bouncing harmlessly off the enemy. Armor, but something strange happened. Instead of destroying Luna Station quickly, the aliens seemed to be having trouble. Their weapons were powerful, but they were designed to fight other big ships. The small, fast-moving human ships were harder to hit than expected. Commander Lisa Grant proved this when she led 3 destroyers in a coordinated attack. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, striking from different angles. They destroyed an alien cruiser and damaged 2 others before retreating. How are they doing that? General Mordak demanded from the bridge of the Dominion's edge. The humans are using unpredictable tactics, Commander Veltar replied. They attack from multiple directions simultaneously. Our targeting systems are having difficulty tracking them. Admiral Zexthol watched the battle with growing concern. They should have won already. The humans were outnumbered 10-1, but they were still fighting. And they were learning. Every time the Kethver used a tactic, the humans adapted to it. When the aliens tried to surround human ships, the humans scattered and regrouped. When the aliens focused their fire, the humans used the wreckage of their own ships as cover. On Luna Station, Jake and Amy watched their screens as more human ships joined the fight. They were losing, but they were making the aliens pay for every victory. Jake, look at this, Amy said. She pointed to her sensor readings. The aliens have lost 30 ships. Jake stared at the numbers. 30 ships. The humans had started with 22 and were down to 8, but they had destroyed 30 alien vessels. That was impossible. They're not used to fighting. People like us, Jake said quietly. What do you mean? Look at their tactics. They fight like they expect us to surrender. But we're not surrendering. An explosion rocked Luna Station. The lights went out again, and this time they did not come back on. Jake and Amy worked by the light of their emergency flashlights. Station integrity at 15%, Amy reported. We need to leave now, Jake nodded. They had done all they could. The evacuation was complete. Most of the civilians had escaped. It was time to go. They ran through the damaged corridors of Luna Station toward the escape pods. Behind them, the station was coming apart as alien weapons tore through its hull. They reached the pod bay just as another explosion shook the station. Jake helped Amy into the escape pod, then climbed in after her. The pod launched just as Luna Station finally broke apart, not as their tiny ship fled toward Earth. Jake looked back at the battle. The human fleet was gone. Admiral Phillips' flagship was trying to retreat with the 3 surviving ships. The aliens had won, but they had not won easily. The space around Luna Station was filled with the wreckage of 30 alien ships. And Jake could see something in the way the remaining alien ships moved. They were being more careful now, more cautious. Amy, he said, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the aliens can be hurt. Tell them we made them bleed. As their escape pod carried them toward Earth, the Kethver fleet regrouped. Admiral Zexthel stared at his casualty reports. 30 ships destroyed. 300 of his people dead. All to capture one small research station. Sir, Commander Veltar said quietly, perhaps we should reconsider the ground invasion. Admiral. Zexthel turned to look at him. Are you suggesting we retreat from primitives? No, sir, but maybe the Codex was not completely wrong. The Admiral looked back at the wreckage floating in space. Somewhere in the back of his mind, doubt began to grow. General Mordak stood on the landing ramp of his transport ship and looked at the city below. New York had been beautiful once, with tall buildings reaching toward the sky. Now it was a pile of broken concrete and twisted metal. This should be easy, he told his troops. The humans have no space fleet left. They cannot resist us. But as soon as the HFY soldiers entered the ruined city, they learned how wrong he was. Sergeant Paul Rivers crouched in the rubble of what used to be a coffee shop. He had 12 Marines with him, armed with whatever weapons they could find. Most of their equipment had been destroyed in the orbital bombardment, but they still had their rifles and a few explosive charges. "Here they come," whispered Corporal Danny Martinez, peering through a crack in the wall. A squad of HFY soldiers walked down the street. They were tall and strong, covered in advanced armor that could stop most human weapons. They carried energy rifles that could cut through steel. Paul waited until they were directly below his position. Then he dropped 3 grenades into the middle of the group. The explosion echoed through the empty streets. When the smoke cleared, 4 alien soldiers were dead. The others took cover and began firing up at the building. But Paul and his Marines were already gone. They had crawled through holes in the walls and were now 3 blocks away, setting up another ambush. This happened 100 times every day in every human city. The aliens had superior weapons and armor, but the humans knew their home. They used the ruins as weapons, turning every street into a trap dot in the Australian outback. Rancher Mary Johnson led a different kind of fight. She knew every hill and valley for 100 miles. When alien patrols came looking for human survivors, she led them into the desert and left them there. "The key is water," she explained to her small group of fighters. "They don't understand how harsh this land can be. We let the desert kill them for us." Her tactics worked. Alien patrols would enter the outback with full supplies, following what looked like clear human tracks. 3 days later, rescue teams would find them dead from dehydration, their advanced technology useless against the merciless sun. But the most dangerous resistance came from an unexpected source. Dr. Helen Clark had been a biologist before the invasion. She studied plants and animals in the Amazon rainforest. Now she studied something else. HFY biology working in a hidden laboratory deep in the jungle. She examined samples of alien blood and tissue taken from the battlefields. What she found gave her an idea that terrified and excited her. "Their immune systems are very different from ours," she explained to her assistant, a young student named Carlos Rivera. "They have no resistance to Earth bacteria and viruses." "What does that mean?" Carlos asked. Helen smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "It means we can make them sick, very sick." Within 2 weeks, she had created a modified version of the common cold virus. To humans, it was harmless. To HFY, it was deadly. She released it into the water supply of occupied cities. Soon, alien soldiers began falling ill with a mysterious disease that their doctors could not cure. Entire companies had to be evacuated back to their ships. General Mordak was furious. How can a primitive species be winning? He demanded. "They are not winning," Commander Veltar replied. "But they are not losing either. Every day we control less territory than the day before." This was true. The HFY had expected to conquer Earth in a few weeks. Instead, after 6 months, they controlled only small areas around their landing sites. Everywhere else, humans fought back with increasing skill and determination. The aliens discovered that humans learned from every battle. Tactics that worked once never worked again. If the HFY used their energy weapons effectively, the humans would study the wreckage and find ways to shield against them. If the aliens used a new type of armor, the humans would develop new weapons to penetrate it. Engineer Tony Martinez had been an auto mechanic before the war. Now he was something, like a weapons designer. In his workshop beneath the ruins of Detroit, he took apart alien equipment and figured out how it worked. "Look at this," he said to his team, holding up a Kethver energy rifle. "The power source is more efficient than anything we ever built, but the cooling system is poorly designed." He showed them how to modify human weapons with alien power sources. He also showed them how to overload alien weapons so they would explode when fired. "We may not be as advanced as they are," Tony said, "but we understand machines. And any machine can be broken if you know how." His workshops spread the knowledge throughout the human resistance. Soon, every human fighter carried weapons that were part human engineering and part alien technology. The aliens found themselves facing their own weapons, improved and turned against them. Computer specialist Rachel Kim worked on a different kind of warfare. Before the invasion, she had been a software engineer. Now she was a digital ghost, haunting the alien communication networks. "Their computer systems are very advanced," she explained to her team, "but they are also very trusting. They never expected anyone to hack them." Rachel had learned to break into Kethver communication systems. She listened to their battle plans and sent false orders to their troops. She made their own computers lie to them. "Squad 7, proceed to Sector 5 for immediate extraction," she would say, using a perfect copy of a Kethver commander's voice. The alien squad would rush to Sector 5, only to find human fighters waiting in ambush. By the time they realized they had been tricked, it was too late. Far above Earth, in the depths of space, the Codex watched the war with growing fascination. It had observed thousands of conflicts between different species, but never anything like this. Most species fought until they suffered a certain percentage of casualties and surrendered. The exact percentage varied, but it was usually between 10 and 30%. After that point, the surviving members of the species would give up rather than face extinction. Humans were different. They had lost millions of people in the first weeks of the invasion. Their major cities were in ruins. Their government had been scattered. By any normal measure, they should have surrendered months ago. Instead, they fought harder. The Codex analyzed human communications and found something remarkable. Instead of becoming discouraged by their losses, humans seemed to be motivated by them. Every fallen city became a rallying cry. Every dead friend or family member became a reason to keep fighting. Analysis. Human species demonstrates reverse psychological pressure response, the Codex noted in its vast digital memory. Stress increases performance rather than decreasing it. Recommend immediate update to all galactic military databases. The Codex began sending data packets to other civilizations throughout the galaxy. It showed them videos of human fighters using alien weapons. It showed them maps of Earth where alien-controlled territory was actually shrinking. It showed them casualty reports that made no mathematical sense. "Warning," the Codex transmitted. "Human species exhibits characteristics not seen in any previous sapient life form. They adapt faster than anticipated. They learn from defeat. They become more dangerous when threatened." Some civilizations began moving their colonies away from human space. Others started building new defenses. A few brave species sent secret messages to the human resistance, offering help. On Earth, Admiral Zexthal stood in his command center aboard the Dominion's Edge. He looked at the reports from his ground commanders and felt something he had never experienced before: fear. "Sir," Commander Veltar said quietly, "we have lost contact with 3 more companies." "Where?" "Brazil, India, and North Africa." The humans seemed to be coordinating their attacks across the entire planet. Zexthal studied the global map. Red zones showed areas under Kethver control. Green zones showed areas where humans were fighting back. The green was spreading. How is this possible? He asked. We destroyed their communications. We destroyed their governments. How are they organizing? We don't know, sir. But they are sharing information faster than we can disrupt it. New tactics appear simultaneously on different continents. It's as if the entire species is connected somehow. The truth was simpler than the aliens realized. Humans had always been social creatures. They shared information instinctively. A successful tactic used in New York would be discussed on hidden radio networks within hours. By the next day, human fighters in Tokyo and London would be using the same methods. The aliens had technology, but the humans had something more powerful, the ability to learn from each other. General Murdoch requested a meeting with Admiral Zexthel. He looked tired and frustrated as he made his report. Admiral, I recommend we withdraw to our ships and bombard the planet from orbit. That would destroy the humans we want to enslave, Zexthel replied. Better than losing our entire army, too. Them, Murdoch said. These humans are not like other species. They don't fight like soldiers. They fight like ... double quotes. Like what? Like every single one of them is personally angry at us. Zexthel understood what he meant. In other conquests, enemy soldiers fought because they were ordered to. They surrendered when their commanders told them to. But every human seemed to be fighting a personal war. That night, as Zexthel tried to sleep, he remembered the Codex's warning. The ancient Eye had tried to tell them something important about humans, but they had not listened. Maybe it was time to start listening. Admiral Corinne Phillips floated in the zero gravity of her hidden command center, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. 6 months ago, everyone thought she was dead. The Kethver certainly thought. So, they were wrong. Status report, she said to the officers gathered around the holographic display. We now have 47 ships operational, reported Captain Jake. Morrison. Everyone had thought he was dead too, after Luna Station was destroyed. Instead, he had spent months gathering the scattered remains of Earth's fleet. 47 ships against 170 alien vessels, said Commander Lisa Walker, the fleet's chief engineer. But our ships are different now. She was right. The ships floating in the asteroid belt looked nothing like the vessels that had fought at Luna Station. They were sleeker, deadlier, and powered by technology that was part human and part Keth. R. Doctor. Sam Porter, who had been Earth's top spacecraft designer, explained how they had done it. We studied every piece of alien wreckage we could find. Their engines are more efficient than ours, but their weapon systems are poorly integrated. We fixed that. The result was a fleet of hybrid ships that could outfight anything the Kethvar had ever seen. Human engineering had improved alien technology in ways the aliens never imagined. What about Earth? Phillips asked communications specialist Beth Rogers, activated her console. The resistance is stronger than ever. They've established quantum encrypted networks across the entire planet. The aliens can't break their codes or jam their signals. Phillips nodded. The resistance had evolved beyond anything the Kethvar understood. Every human settlement had become a weapons factory. Every survivor had become a soldier. The aliens controlled small pockets of territory, but they were islands in an ocean of human anger. Ma'am, said Jake Morrison, we're receiving reports that the aliens are requesting reinforcements from their home worlds. How many? Unknown. But our spies in the alien communication network say they're asking for everything they have. Phillips smiled grimly. Then it's time to make sure those reinforcements never arrive. On Earth, the war had changed in ways the Kethvar could not comprehend. What had started as an invasion had become something else entirely, a learning experience. For humanity, Sergeant Paul Rivers no longer fought with just rifles and grenades. His squad now carried weapons that fired alien energy bolts, powered by human-built batteries that lasted 3 times longer than the original HFY versions. The trick is understanding what they don't expect, he explained to a group of new fighters in the ruins of Chicago. They think like conquerors. We think like survivors. He showed them how to use alien armor that his engineers had modified for human bodies. It was lighter and more flexible than the original, with built-in communication systems that connected to the global resistance network. Every alien we kill teaches us something new, Hall said. Every weapon we capture makes us stronger. They came here to enslave us, but instead they're making us into something they can't defeat. In the Amazon, Dr. Helen Clark had moved beyond biological warfare. Working with captured alien medical equipment, she was learning things about HFY, physiology that their own doctors didn't know. Their brain chemistry is fascinating, she told her research team. They have natural chemicals that make them aggressive and dominant, but they also make them predictable. She had developed new weapons, gases that cause temporary paralysis. In HFY nervous systems, sound frequencies that disrupted their balance, and drugs that could be introduced into their food supply to make them sick and confused. We're not just fighting them, Helen explained. We're studying them. Every battle is an experiment, and we're learning faster than they can adapt. The aliens were beginning to realize this. General Mordock stood in his command bunker, looking at reports that made no sense. How can their casualty rate be going down while ours goes up? He demanded. Commander Veltar pulled up charts and graphs. They are learning from every engagement. Tactics that cost them 100 lives last month now cost them 10 lives. Meanwhile, our soldiers are facing weapons and strategies they've never encountered before. It was true. The humans had turned warfare into a science. Every battle was recorded, analyzed, and studied. Successful tactics were shared instantly across the resistance network. Failed strategies were abandoned immediately. The HFY, by contrast, fought the same way they had for centuries. Their military doctrine was rigid and predictable. They could not adapt as fast as their enemies were learning. In his workshop beneath Detroit, Tony Martinez had become something like a mad scientist. His latest creation was a hybrid fighter ship that combined human creativity with alien technology. Look at this beauty, he said to his team, patting the hull of a sleek spacecraft that gleamed with polished metal and glowing energy conduits. Human frame, alien engines, and a weapon system that would make the HFY weep. The ship was smaller and faster than anything in the alien fleet. Its weapons could penetrate HFY armor, and its shields could deflect their energy beams. Most importantly, it had been designed by humans who understood that space combat was three-dimensional. The aliens fight like they're on a flat battlefield, Tony explained. They think in terms of front lines and flanking maneuvers. We think in terms of spheres and vectors. That's why we can outfight them even when they outnumber us. Rachel Kim had become the Resistance's secret weapon in the digital war. From her hidden command center, she had learned to do more than just intercept alien communications. She could rewrite their software. Watch this, she said to her team of hackers and programmers. She sent a signal to a HFY patrol ship orbiting above Europe. On the ship's bridge, warning lights began flashing. The navigation system reported that the ship was heading directly toward the sun. The weapons system began charging without orders. The life support system started venting air into space. None of it was actually happening. But the alien crew didn't know that. They spent 3 hours trying to fix problems that existed only in their computer's memory. Psychological warfare, Rachel explained. We make them afraid of their own technology. Every time they use a computer, they wonder if we're watching. Every time they get a message, they wonder if we sent it. The effect was devastating. HFY forces became paralyzed by doubt. Commanders stopped trusting their equipment. Soldiers began to suspect that their own weapons might turn against them. High above Earth, the Codex observed these developments with something approaching excitement. In all its millennia of existence, it had never seen anything like this. Unprecedented data pattern detected, it noted in its vast memory banks. Human. Species demonstrates accelerated technological and tactical evolution under combat stress. Rate of adaptation exceeds all known parameters. The Codex began updating its databases with new classifications. Humans were no longer simply apex predators. They were something new. Adaptive apex predators with exponential learning capability. It sent urgent messages to civilizations throughout the galaxy. Warning: human species evolution rate accelerating. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact. Military engagement inadvisable. Some species began sending secret envoys toward Earth. Others started building defenses around their home worlds. A few civilizations packed up their colonies and moved them to distant galaxies. The turning point came when Admiral Phillips launched her counterattack. Her hybrid fleet emerged from the asteroid belt like ghosts, striking the Kethfer staging area at Proxima Centauri. The aliens never saw them coming. The human ships moved faster and hit harder than anything in the Kethfer fleet. They used tactics that seemed impossible, attacking from 6 directions simultaneously, disappearing into hyperspace for seconds at a time, coordinating their movements. With split-second precision in 4 hours, Phillips' 47 ships destroyed 60 Kethfer vessels and captured 20 more. The alien reinforcement fleet was eliminated before it could reach Earth. Admiral Zexthil received the news in his command, sent her aboard the Dominion's Edge. He stared at the casualty reports, unable to believe what he was reading. "How?" he whispered. "Sir?" Commander Veltar said quietly, "The human ships were using our own technology, but improved. Our weapons couldn't penetrate their shields. Our engines couldn't match their speed. It was as if they had taken everything we know and made it better." Zexthul felt something cold growing in his chest. It was fear, but it was more than that. It was the realization that they had awakened something terrible. "Contact the home worlds," he ordered. "Tell them we need every ship they have." "Sir, that would leave our entire empire defenseless. If we don't stop these humans here, there won't be an empire left to defend." But even as he gave the order, Zexthul knew it might be too late. The humans had learned too much, adapted too quickly. They had become something the Kethfer Empire was not equipped to fight. For the first time in 300 years of conquest, the Kethfer were facing an enemy that was getting stronger instead of weaker, and they had no idea how to stop it. 1 year after first contact, Admiral Zexthul stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched his empire die. The human fleet surrounded the Kethvar, home world like a swarm of angry insects. There were hundreds of ships now, all of them faster and more deadly than anything his people had ever built. They moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. "Admiral," Commander Veltar said quietly, "they are requesting surrender terms." Zexthul closed his eyes. The Kethvar Empire had lasted for over 1,000 years. They had conquered 47 worlds and ruled over billions of beings. Now it was ending because they had attacked a small blue planet whose people refused to give up. "Put them through," he said. The main screen flickered, and Admiral Karen Phillips appeared. She looked older than she had a year ago, with lines of stress around her eyes and gray in her hair. But there was something else in her expression. Not hatred, but sadness. "Admiral Zexthul," she said, "I believe you know why I'm here." "You have come to destroy us," Zexthul replied. "As we tried to destroy you." Phillips was quiet for a moment. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship bustled with activity. Human and alien crew members worked side by side at control stations. Zexthil blinked in surprise. Some of his own people were serving on human ships. No, Philip said finally. We've come to offer you a choice. What choice could there be? You have won. We have lost. The choice is what happens next, Phillips explained. We could destroy your fleet and enslave your people, the way you plan to do to us. Or we could try something different. On Earth, the war was over. In the ruins of New York, Sergeant Paul Rivers worked alongside former enemies to rebuild the city. HFY engineers, impressed by human adaptability, had volunteered to help repair the damage their weapons had caused. It's strange, Paul said to his squad as they watched a mixed team of humans and aliens raising a new building. A year ago, we were trying to kill each other. Now we're working together. Corporal Danny Martinez, now promoted to lieutenant, nodded. Turns out they're not so different from us. They just never learned how to solve problems without fighting. The integration had not been easy. Many humans wanted revenge for the destruction and death the invasion had caused. Many HFY could not accept that they had been defeated by a primitive species. But something remarkable was happening. The two species were learning from each other in ways neither had expected. Dr. Helen Clark, working in her new laboratory in the rebuilt Amazon Research Center, studied HFY biology alongside alien scientists. Together, they were making discoveries that neither species could have achieved alone. Your immune systems are actually superior to ours in many ways, she explained to Dr. Kexmore, a HFY biochemist. And our adaptive capabilities complement your analytical precision perfectly. I do not understand, Kexmore replied. How can working together make us stronger than working separately? Helen smiled. That's the most human thing you could possibly learn. The real breakthrough came when the Codex made contact with human. Computer specialist Rachel Kim, the ancient AI, had been watching the integration process with fascination. I have observed 10,000 civilizations, the Codex explained, as its holographic form appeared in Rachel's laboratory. Never have I seen two species adapt to each other so quickly. What makes it work? Rachel asked. Humans possess a unique trait, the Codex replied. You do not simply defeat your enemies. You transform them into allies. This is unprecedented in galactic history. Rachel had been studying HFY computer systems, working with alien programmers to create hybrid technologies. The results were remarkable. Computers that combined human creativity with alien processing power, creating artificial intelligences more advanced than either species had developed alone. The HFY thought like conquerors, Rachel said. But we think like survivors. Survivors know that cooperation is stronger than domination. The Codex processed this information and came to a startling conclusion. Analysis indicates that human species evolved specifically for this type of integration. Your social cooperation mechanisms are designed to incorporate foreign elements and make them part of your group. This was true. Throughout their history, humans had absorbed other cultures, learned from their enemies, and grown stronger through diversity. The HFY invasion had simply been the largest example of this pattern. In space, engineer Tony Martinez worked with HFY shipbuilders to design vessels that neither species could have imagined alone. The new ships were works of art as much as weapons of war, combining human innovation with alien precision. Look at this, Tony said to his mixed crew as they tested the latest prototype. Human engines, HFY armor, and a control system that thinks like both our species combined. The ship responded to thought as much as touch, its computers learning from both human intuition and HFY logic. It was faster than any previous spacecraft, yet more efficient. It was heavily armed, yet designed primarily for exploration and rescue. This is what we could have been building all along, said Vel Carr, a HFY engineer who had become Tony's closest collaborator. If we had worked together instead of fighting. But the most important changes were happening in the Halls of Diplomacy. General Mordock, the former Kethfer invasion commander, now worked with Colonel Ryan Hayes to establish new protocols for interspecies conflict resolution. The problem with the old way, Mordock explained to a council of human and Kethver leaders, was that we only knew how to win or lose. Humans taught us a third option: transform. Colonel Hayes nodded. Every war creates veterans who understand both sides. Those veterans become bridges between former enemies. This philosophy was spreading throughout the galaxy. The Codex had been broadcasting the story of the human Kethver War to every civilization within 1,000 light years. The message was simple. Cooperation was more powerful than conquest. Some species were skeptical. The Velinari Republic, a peaceful confederation of traders and scholars, sent ambassadors to study the human Kethvar integration. "This is unprecedented," said Ambassador Triluk, a tall, graceful being with silver skin and large, intelligent eyes. "Our models predict that such rapid cultural integration should be impossible." Admiral Phillips met with the ambassador aboard the new flagship of the combined human Kethver fleet. The ship itself was a symbol of integration, human design, enhanced with Kethver technology, crewed by members of both species working as equals. "We didn't plan this," Phillips admitted. "It just happened naturally. When people work together toward a common goal, old enemies become new friends. But how do you resolve the conflicts?" Triluk asked. "Surely there must be disputes over resources, territory, authority." Phillips led the ambassador to the ship's main conference room, where a heated debate was in progress. Human and Kethfor officers were arguing about mining rights in the asteroid belt, their voices raised and their gestures animated. "Watch," Phillips said quietly. As they observed, the argument gradually shifted. Instead of each side defending their position, they began working together to find solutions that benefited everyone. A human suggested a rotation system. A Kethver proposed shared technology. Within an hour, they had developed a plan that was better than anything either species had originally proposed. "They argue," Phillips explained, "but they argue toward solutions, not toward victory." Ambassador Triluk was amazed. "This is not how conflicts are typically resolved." "No," Phillips agreed, "but it's how they could be resolved if people focused on building something better instead of proving who's right." The ambassador returned to the Velinari Republic with a report that changed galactic politics. Within months, other civilizations were sending delegations to study human Kethver cooperation methods. But not everyone was pleased with these developments. Some species saw the rapid integration as a threat to the established galactic order. They feared that humans would upset the careful balance of power that had existed for millennia. The Zorthak hegemony, a coalition of militaristic species, sent a fleet to establish a quarantine around human space. They believed that human influence needed to be contained before it could spread. Admiral Phillips received their ultimatum while meeting with Admiral Zexthul in the Joint Command Center of New Geneva, the first truly integrated human Kethver city. "They want us to remain in our own systems," Phillips said, reading the message. "No contact with other species. No expansion beyond current borders." Zexthul studied the tactical display showing the Zorthic fleet. "They have brought 300 ships. Do we fight them?" Phillips looked at her former enemy, now her closest ally. "What do you think?" "A year ago, I would have said yes immediately," Zexthul replied. "But humans have taught me to ask a different question. What are we trying to accomplish?" Phillips smiled. "Exactly. We're not trying to conquer anyone. We're trying to show them a better way." Instead of attacking the Zorthic fleet, Phillips broadcast a message across the galaxy. It was transmitted through the Codex's network, reaching every civilization within range. "People of the galaxy," her message began, We are Admiral Karen, Phillips of Earth, and Admiral Zexthil of Kethver Prime. 1 year ago, we were enemies. Today, we stand together as proof that there is an alternative to endless war. The message continued for an hour, showing images of integrated cities, mixed crews, joint research projects, and former enemies working side by side. It demonstrated that cooperation could accomplish things that conquest never could. We invite you to join us, Phillips concluded, not as subjects, but as partners. Not through surrender, but through choice. The galaxy is large enough for all of us to prosper together. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Scientists from dozens of species requested permission to study human Kethver integration techniques. Diplomats asked for mediation training. Engineers wanted to collaborate on joint projects. Even some members of the Zorthek fleet defected, their crews requesting asylum so they could experience this new form of civilization within 5 years. The Galactic Cooperative Council was established, with its headquarters rotating between Earth, Kethver Prime, and representatives of 23 other species. Admiral Phillips served as the first human representative, while Admiral Zexthil became the Council's military advisor. The Codex updated its files one final time. Species: human. Planet: Earth, Sol System. Classification: Catalyst species. Effect on galactic civilization: paradigm shift toward cooperative advancement. Recommendation: integration beneficial. Warning maintained: do not threaten their families. In the final scene, Admiral Zexthil walked through the gardens of New Geneva with his former enemy, now his closest friend. Children of a dozen different species played together in the sunshine, their laughter echoing off buildings that combined the best of many architectural traditions. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had listened to the Codex's warning? Zexthil asked. Phillips considered the question. We would have missed out on all of this, she said, gesturing at the thriving integrated city around them. Sometimes the best things come from the biggest mistakes. The Codex was right about one thing, Zexthil said. Engaging Earth did change everything. Yes, Phillips agreed, but change isn't always bad. Sometimes it's exactly what the galaxy needs. As they walked through the gardens, the Codex observed from its vast digital realm, updating its databases with one final entry. Analysis complete. Humans are not the apex predator of their world because they are the strongest or fastest. They are apex predators because they never stop adapting, never stop learning, and never abandon their pack. The galaxy has been warned. The galaxy has been transformed. The galaxy has been saved.